Okay, it is 6 o'clock and I will call the meeting to order. All members present. We got Aaron is on Zoom. Martha should be here at some point. Martha and Kellen.
There's Kellen.
Yep, perfect. Any changes, additions, removals to the agenda? I have none. Move to the approval of the minutes. We have the regular meeting that we discussed last month with some changes from May 19th. And then the all boards meeting from last week on June 15th. We have a motion for any of that?
Make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Which one?
The regular meeting, May 19th.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and all boards meeting from June 15th?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
Any discussion there?
Yeah, I wonder if we can include that idea that was shared about the 40 acres behind the school that the town owns.
I thought that was in there, Terry.
I thought it was
I didn't
in
see
there.
it in there.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute, I'm
Terry Carter added there are 40 acres behind the school.
Oh, okay, good. I guess I was looking at the planning commission part and I didn't see it there. Oh, yeah, there it is. Good, I'm fine.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Comments from citizens?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay. Potential discussion, regional future land use map updates with Kellen.
Hey friends, yeah.
Hi, Kellen.
Just to do that, here, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Coming back this month, we had a discussion last month of the future land use map for the regional plan, in particular around the sort of proposed village area for Ludlow. I think we had discussed some potential expansions, and folks had given us some feedback about, I think, wanting to pull back a little bit from the sort of upper South Hill Town Farm Road area, restrain that into where there's sewer and water infrastructure, as well as include some of the parking lots up on Mountain Road in the village area. If I'm allowed to share my screen, I can pull up the map that I have. Let's see here. Here, can you all see that all right?
not yet.
Not
Yeah.
yet.
There it is.
Yes.
There we go.
Perfect. I think this is looking back over last month's minutes and my own notes. We had said sort of this area hill in here that's now in light green. That was pink before. We changed that back to light green. We moved the pink up over on the mountain road. You can see on the imagery these sort of gravel lots. We're saying, hey, that could be some really cool redevelopment there. As well as we had, last time we had spoken, there was a little bit of discussion about the sort of river area and ravine area on Andover Street, in between Andover and Partridge. We just kind of filled that in so that it looks even and nice and makes sense, and squared that away. And then coming up here to like South Hill and Town Farm, last time we had spoken, we had kind of extended the pink area into a lot of these smaller lots that are now in yellow. And we've really just pulled the pink into areas that have access to sewer infrastructure, and moved it from there. Aaron and I had discussed a couple of spots up here by the snowmaking pond to maybe include in the village area, but we couldn't really find a way to justify it when you take into account the flood zone and steep slopes and things like that. And similarly, over here, we had last time talked about pulling back from Freedom Hill a little bit, and I'm realizing I had said I was going to take these lots on Pine Hill off, so I can do that if we want. Apologies about that. Yeah. Other notable thing, which I think might have been changed since we last spoke, is there's these streaks of green going through the middle of the village area. Based on some comments that we got from the Land Use Review Board, they're basically saying that anything that isn't, quote, doesn't meet the definition of infill development, not be included in the Tier 1B area if it's in the river corridor. So we've kind of gone in and taken some of the most river impacted areas out of that designation and replaced them with this sort of rural conservation designation. It basically amounts to the parcel of the river itself is basically what it amounts to, but that's just delineated a little bit now. Yeah, that's kind of the update based on our conversation last month. I think what we're hoping for, we're getting to get to the point where we want to be able to get a thumbs up, thumbs down, I guess, from y'all about this, from this map. We're getting to the point where the board would love to, the board of Mark would love to move on adopting the map. And so, yeah, we just kind of need to get some final feedback from you all. Like I said last time, there's a lot of different ways that we can do this. We're pushing this expansion of the village area based on comments that we've heard from the land use board saying, hey, maybe you should offer to Ludlow that they should have a little bit more Tier 1B area because of the flood zone. And we've also heard from, basically from folks who are saying, let's make sure that we actually have land to work with. I think you all have given some fairly pro Tier 1B discussion in the past, so we're just trying to make sure that it meets what you all want, but happy to make it look basically the way that you all want it to look, because it's your village area.
Is that dashed line the village proper?
Yes, it is. That's the boundary of the village versus in the town.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you guys
Yeah.
a question?
Have the,
Hold on, Terry's got something.
after that town plan meeting, I was walking out with George Tucker and talked to him about the South Hill thing. And he said that he goes, oh, everything got bigger. The 1B got bigger. Was a select board? I mean, I'm sure you guys informed the select board about it. He didn't seem to know anything about it.
We actually haven't had a ton of conversation with the select board about it yet. I think our first step was to talk to you all, and then the second step was to go over to them with y'all's comments and make sure that that's squared away. Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing is would it be possible to include the land behind the school?
You're talking about this green sort of
The
column here?
40 acres that the town owns behind the school.
Yeah, so I looked at that today because Jason told me that there was a suggestion around that. I think in theory, yes, we could include it in this. I think it is hard to justify including that piece of land and not including other pieces of land in the in the area. I think it expands it fairly well. I think it's important to note. So this is this piece of land. This is the 40 acres or so. It's about 300 feet wide. It's about 3,000 feet long.
It's a steady lot.
The average slope on it is 19% from bottom to top. That's a pretty consistent grade. And it doesn't. I mean, the only road frontage that it has would either be to go through what is now the baseball field into the community center, community center and former high school, or to pop out kind of through this property onto Cedar Drive. I think my take is that seems like a pretty heavy lift to be able to get development into there. I think if that's something that the planning commission strongly wants to see, I think we can consider it and see if we can make a justification for it. But yeah, I guess my opinion is that it seems like a pretty unlikely that development goes there.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Terry?
Yeah.
That is commonly referred to now as like it's paths, it's bike and hiking paths.
Yeah.
And is that dedicated to, or is there a right of way for, through that parcel? So that maybe that would be, or an easement, I mean, I don't
I don't know any details about it. I'm just
I
learning
think
from
the
Callan.
town owns it,
yeah,
just like the town owns
Dorsey.
Dorsey, the Okemo Valley TV. If the town at a certain point said, hey, we have a better use for it,
They would lose their
It's just-
trails.
Well, no, they could be relocated.
yeah, and it's, but no, they don't own it or anything like
Okay,
that.
I was
They're
just wondering.
operating.
Yeah.
If there was.
Yeah, they came to the town for permission to do
Right,
those.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know they want to do an interconnectivity with Cavendish
Mm-hmm.
on that, yeah. Edward, you would probably know that.
And they want to merge trails between Cavendish and Ludlow, I think through that parcel at
Yeah.
some point.
Eric?
Just one comment, the DRB generally is not very receptive to development over 15, slope of 15 or greater. So if it's saying it's 15, 19 is average, you might have some difficulty getting the okay with the DRB.
Is the lower 10, Kellen, is that less steep
So this area.
than the top
We
30?
can see it. So we can see the area that's included in the village area already, which is, the existing buildings and the baseball field, that's pretty level. It starts to pretty quickly become steep after that. There's a relatively level, I say relatively, it's like an 8% slope area, like right around where the power lines cross it, but it's kind of in the middle of the parcel, and would need access to it. I think DRB aside, in terms of development practicality, I think a lot of, if I recall correctly, like a lot of fire truck road steepness regulations are something like 10 to 12%, something like that. So you would probably see, if you were going to build houses on this, assuming everything went the way you want, you have to have like a snaking road to cut the grade, which also eliminates a lot of the spaces that you'd be able to build houses. So yeah, I guess the front 10 here, which is already in pink, is fairly level. And so if the town wanted to explore redeveloping some of that, that'd be totally, I think that'd be a very reasonable idea.
Should we include it?
It is included. Yep.
Oh, it is included.
Yeah.
But is it included in the growth area, as a growth area?
Yes.
Okay.
If this map were adopted, it would be included in the tier 1B area. It would not. It would be exempt from activity.
Callie, may I ask a question?
Of course.
That parcel to the right of where your mouse is, how come that was not included?
This kind of oblong one here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We could add it in. That seems like an oversight on my part.
Because it seems topography-wise, it'd be pretty close to what, where the school is.
Who owns it?
Yeah. I don't know off the top of my head who owns it, but I'm happy to include it. I think that's probably an oversight on my part. That seems like a very reasonable thing to add in.
So I guess then what we were talking about last time was these Pine Hill parcels here, because these lower parcels have steep lots. It's almost like a hillside. Right? And even if you guys are talking about coming in from this road or that, there's a big valley right in here. But they have sewer up here.
How far up Pine Hill is the sewer in?
think it's
Probably
right there.
Where the pink
Right
is
about
stopping.
where you got it highlighted, that's kind of what I figured.
You can kind of see it as that the sewer and water on. The red stars area is places where there's sewer. This sort of rectangular crosshatch is both water and sewer. So sewer extends up through the triangle.
Okay.
I think last time we had talked about this, we were considering taking out these parcels
Because
on
of the
Pine
slope.
Hill. I think it makes sense based on, you were saying, I think folks were saying this whole triangle is in a similar HOA, and so it probably makes sense to either include all of it or include none of it. But, yeah.
Well, that's the thing, those land parcels up there are a part of an HOA because of the sewer and the road maintenance they contribute. I don't think they get separate sewer bills. But that's something we could look into too.
How much is undeveloped up on Pine Hill there? Are any of those lots undeveloped?
So when you go up to Cedar Drive, where the cul-de-sac is.
Yeah.
There's that, you could almost see in this photo,
Yeah, you can see.
areas where the houses are to the right. But those last two parcels on the left, lower,
Mm-hmm.
are not developed. But it drops down. I think most of it is because you lose your view of Okemo from there because it drops down.
Yeah.
Where those other people built the homes up there because they could see.
If we included it, the HOA could have rules that supersede any of the development we have. But does it hurt us in any way if we did include it? Because if you look at just how things are connected there, very quickly, that connects into maybe a spot where the back 40 does have potential for development. That little trapezoid piece that you called out before there, right by the community center,
Mhm.
taps into that pretty quickly.
How do you know it so well back there?
I've been back there.
Oh,
Kelly, could you throw up the sewer map again for us?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it kind of ends there, so. If somebody was so from that trapezoid parcel we're talking about, that's lower than that road, so they're not gonna be bringing it up. It wouldn't make any sense, because then you would, well, I guess you could pump it, but. it'd be-
Well, I think if you were doing that trapezoid piece, you'd go down
Yeah,
and tap in by the community center.
Yeah, you can come right down the senior center road there.
yeah, I mean.
But again, all we're doing is saying, hey, if a housing project wanted to go there,
Yeah.
they're Act 250 exempt.
I don't see any reason not to include it.
I don't either.
I think we should just put it on there. Like you said, Callan, either all or nothing, so I think we should put it all on it.
Okay.
What are you specifically, Ed? What are you saying? Put it all on there. Are you talking about all of Pineview or the trapezoid piece?
Well,
This is Freedom.
Right.
so everything.
Cedar
So
Pine
you're saying
Hill.
everything here in the yellow?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like Noah's idea of maybe being able to get over to the parcel and make a deal at some point with that property owner of an easement to get into that parcel if you ever wanted to. So I would include it. And you have a couple undeveloped lots there, even though they're not on sewer yet, I mean, they're right there. They can always opt to bring it up the road a little bit if they were doing some type of larger development or maybe a multifamily or something there, you could do it. But that would be the HOA restrictions, you'd have to they would just be having to allow that.
You know, driveway that goes up to 103.
It does?
This one?
Oh.
What area is in the HOA?
Steep drop.
I think it's everything on Pine Hill.
Everything, okay, so,
Yeah, these two roads here.
and then up top, all the way over?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not just include the whole thing? That's, from Freedom Hill over.
Thoughts, guys?
I think it makes sense. There's housing already there. There's a project that comes up to encourage that. Why not?
So Callan, I think what we're saying is to incorporate this whole yellow section below the blue and next to the green.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that trapezoid next to the community center that we were talking about, and then all of the subdivided lots on Cedar Drive, Birch Lane, and Pine Hill. All up.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you want to go look at West Hill again real quick? Because I don't know if there's any room or anything, but it kind of bumped down after Okemo Acres. Right there. See those green smaller parcels? I don't know if that makes any sense. There's no sewer there. There's no water there. It's all well and septic.
Are you saying up,
Like this little area.
like on
This is-
Okemo Acres?
Yeah, I just don't know, I'm just throwing it out while we're talking about this section here. Cause he put this in, I know we talked about this last time where it was too steep, right? That's what you were saying going up West Hill?
Where's the Gia property on there?
He's up.
Yeah,
Okay.
off the screen a little bit.
Which one
Yeah, I
is
think
it?
last time we had spoken about West Hill, I think folks had said that it was a little harder to justify.
The one that goes over to
in terms of-
West Hill.
In terms of the fact that there's no water, sewer, or walkability there, I think that makes sense to me. We're trying to keep it in the village area to be, at least one of those three on the far
I
edges.
just threw it out there, see what you guys think.
Which one is Okemo Acres?
Which one's Okemo Acres?
It's that, it kind of goes from the blue section and does like a little horseshoe.
Okay, because my friend is right.
I guess the only other question that I would have to the board is, do we want to incorporate areas for further expansion that don't even have water or sewer yet?
I'll tell you, George Tucker was not hip on that idea at all. He's like, what? I thought we were just talking about places with water and sewer.
I think the farther we get away from what, like, I think Pine Hill is a good example where it's really close.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to justify, hey, if there's an empty lot at the end of Okemo Acres, hey, that would be a housing development. Well, why would all of these other people want to install the sewer or the water? They already have the wells and the sewer and all of that. I think it's a harder sell, and then, hey, why didn't we go to these other places?
Plus that town plan meeting was eye-opening as to the stuff we need to do with our infrastructure we have now. Like the water department reporting that they don't even know the condition of the pipes and they might be in really bad condition.
There are sections that they know about, but like as far as capacity, I was just talking with Joe of like, hey, what are the potential expansions we want to do? We just there's been conversation about getting water over to the Overlook, which is bottom of Doug Road, the affordable housing development out there. Well, we have the pipe we need, that size stops around Totem Pole or so. And then it goes smaller to the fire station. And then it's even smaller after that.
Oh, wow.
So, and maybe it's old too, but that's if we want to get it down to Doug Road or, over to the Overlook from the Main Street side, it would be significant upgrading starting around Totem Pole out, or you go down Dug Road. But we use around 250,000 gallons of water a day at our peak, and we generate 750,000 gallons of water. We have so much excess water, and it actually is a burden. They have to empty tanks and clean those and keep that water flowing because we don't use as much as we need to. There are definitely places like up on Orion and Thompson, that super old pipe, and it's just when stuff happens we realize what's going on. But this could be a great way to help fund that, where hey, we're gonna move that water, we're gonna extend that a little bit, but that's also gonna fund the repair of that pipe that needs being replaced anyways.
With the water fees? Is that what you're talking about? That's how it would replace?
No, I think if you hey, you want to extend the water, cool, you have to pay to move the water.
Yeah, the fees.
Yeah. The hook-on fee, not necessarily the paying of the water, but yeah. I think as things stand right now, I think there's plenty of areas that we touched, and I feel pretty good with where we're at, unless we're missing something obvious.
I'd like to kind of just add a little part, like you have some of these streets that, you know, they're close to septic. I mean, they're close to sewer, but they're all on septic. And some of these streets are much older, they have a lot of older septic on it. All it takes is one small development that says, hey, we want to put in 20 condos here, but we got to get sewer up here. It incentivizes the rest of the street to say, hey, we got to replace our septic here. We got 30, 40-year-old tanks here. You know, we're undersized. A lot of those homes have to jump in on it too. So it's kind of like, if you think about Upper Crossroads, when we went through that, we put sewer down Upper Crossroads, but I'm doing 2 hook-ons right now, and we're getting rid of septics and hooking on because it's there. They put it up in there, but it was driven by that one little development closer to the access. So they took the initiative, put it in there, put a plan together with the rest of the neighbors, and most of them, I think 75% have contributed to putting sewer in. So by you know, redrawing this map on some of those streets that, yeah, we don't have septic there, or we don't have sewer there, but you know, it may incentivize at some point to have that infrastructure put in, and then the town's not footing the bill for it, the development's footing the bill, or the owners that want to jump in on it are footing the bill. So I think that's something to consider when you're looking at kind of like the bigger picture on some of these areas, that hey, we don't have the infrastructure there, but if you give them the space to be able to get in there, maybe you'll get a project that'll actually drive that, and we'll get additional infrastructure out of it.
What's the overlook thought? Why to bring the water up there?
They asked for it.
They've asked several times over the last 20 years.
What's
Since they've been-
the deal up there now?
They have
I don't know
wells.
what it is.
They have wells.
Wells, okay.
Yep,
Well,
yep.
it's not a bad thing.
No.
So I'm just saying, you start looking at the whole thing, it's what it's gonna cost to bring. And it's kind of a dead end there in Ludlow. No one's ever wanted to take a look or wanted to make a move to bring the water and sewer to the golf course or whatever. It's all been talked about for years. And then the cost of everything now and the issues we have and all the other that we're talking about right now, the water lines that are all not good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you start looking at it all, it's like there's a lot more up front that needs to be done on the
it's
older stuff
overwhelming.
than what we're ever gonna pull off now with new.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to put it down, I'm just saying that,
Just being realistic.
yeah.
Eric, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just thinking it through, because, you know, when it comes to water and sewer, typically we hear exactly what we're hearing right here. It's like, well, you know, it's old. You know, do we want to do anything with it? I think that view is a little short-sighted, 'cause, you know, everything gets old in time, but the second piece of it is, well, maybe there'll be a development that'll pay to bring the lines out. Let's think of it a different way. If the town actually brought those lines out, you have a big impetus for development. And by having those lines out there, you're increasing the value of those lots, which increases the grand list, which increases income to the town, without even building. But then if you build, you take some of these lots that have a value of $50,000 and suddenly make them into a $4.5 million lot. So you've paid for a good piece of that infrastructure by advancing the value of those lots from 50,000 to 4.5 million. So, I wouldn't be hard fast to say, well, it's not there, we're not bringing it out there. If someone else wants to bring it out there, they can. You might be missing an opportunity to increase the value of these lots and get paid through the grand list. I mean, that's another income stream to the town.
Good point.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it. I think for this case, do we run the risk of, hey, we made the map too big in other areas and too small in other areas? And I guess it's kind of a question for you, Callan, of like, we could, and again, it's really just the Act 250 exemption. If we have zoning rules, if we have stuff in the, in our rules, those still need to be adhered to. Do we run the risk if we expand it too much, or how's the feedback from the land use board there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the land use board is being more lax than I expected them to be in terms of where they would, quote unquote, allow this sort of exemption. I think, like, from the town's perspective, the risk, quote unquote, to expanding the exemption area is basically accidentally finding development somewhere that you don't want it to. But I think, as you were saying, your rules still apply. You're not going to accidentally find that. And I think Ludlow has a fairly robust zoning and development review board, and your regulations are in place, so you're still going to have control of this. I think, in terms of, I think a lot of this conversation about this month and last month has been in terms of, what are the technical requirements for putting village area or this Act 250 exemption into here. I think it's also important to note that, it is still a planning exercise as much as a regulatory exercise, and we're asking, where do you want this sort of growth and expansion? And I think that, like, from a planning perspective, a smaller map probably makes sense. You want to have that sort of tight village core that has a lot of high density in it, that is going to be able to support your water and sewer systems. I think in general, water and sewer systems pencil best when they are in as compact a geographic area as they can be, while serving as many people as they can be. But I think Ludlow also has the issue of there's a lot of steep slopes and there's a lot of river corridor and flood areas. And so we're trying to find a balance of that. So I think this map as it is does a pretty good job of finding that balance, of expanding out a little bit, finding spaces where development could go in that's not too far from existing utilities. So you have room to grow, but not just kind of going, why don't we exempt the whole town? I think this finds a good balance, if you were asking my opinion.
I just would like to make a comment. I agree with everything everybody said. I'm just want to make sure that when we say okay to this map, that we didn't leave something out for Act 250 exemption. Because when we are dealing with the hills and the slopes, I mean, Ed and Ted, you can speak to this more than I can, but, construction wise, we want to, for me, I just like to shoot from the hip and create thinking, like, running it down 103 to Route 100, wrap the corner, right? We got all that land there. Yeah, it's next to the river. Why couldn't we allow that? It's right by a main corridor. You know what I mean? Like just little things and make that Act 250 exempt. Even though there's no infrastructure there now. I'm just, again, shooting from the hip. Like,
What are the negative thoughts on that?
Yeah.
To be that aggressive, whatever.
There's no water or sewer.
No.
I think
And
that's-
one of the, that's the boxes we're trying.
But if we head down, you head down that direction, you got the Carrera lot, you got that big lot behind Tony Shufo's old office. You have that area that just has not made your project there. That would not have made sense to do 50 private septics and, you know, all of that stuff. It won't pencil. If you expand down there and you had water and sewer, all of a sudden some of those projects could make sense. Then there naturally you extend to the lake, you help protect your grand list for properties that are gonna disappear if we don't get sewer figured out on some of those places in the next 20 years. Is that too big of a push? Are we extending it too far? I can see that, but I think that's where it would naturally
You're saying
make
from,
sense.
you're saying from by the lakes?
Well, if you,
wrap the corner on 100, yeah.
yeah, on 100 there, heading towards the lakes there.
Okay,
Um,
so Route 100 North.
yeah.
Is that, what part of that's in the river corridor though?
So I'm thinking before you get to Pauline, you're a little elevated there. You're definitely right on the corner. You're definitely on it.
I mean, there's a DOT lot there, but you got that whole north side, which is well above all of that.
We got the career lot, the
Yeah.
career
Van
lane.
north there, Callan, a little bit.
That's the big.
Well, what I was going to say is before we head too far into this conversation, is one of the requirements for the village area, right, is the reason that it's statutorily authorized is to be able to create continuity to your village center. We can't create a village area out of thin air in a place where you're not already connected to a village center. And I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to justify a sort of long arm north here where reasonably you're not going to, right, if this is the 100, 103 intersection here, when you get to Plymouth, like, I think you'd be hard pressed to justify that is contiguous to this village center where you all are at right now. And so
Simply not
I
walkable.
think,
Yeah.
I don't think you could send that sort of panhandle out there like that, and not draw this skepticism of the land use board. Not to mention, anyone who wanted to challenge this later. I think that'd be pushing it on a little bit too far, in my opinion.
So as it stands, are we missing anything like that we want to see here? We've definitely gone through this quite a bit. I think with the conversation we've had about the Pine Hill Predum area, I think we hit some good stuff there.
But Kellen, just for information, Jason today at the regional meeting mentioned that the Land Use Review Board made some things mandatory and then just had suggestions for other pieces. Were any of the things suggested for Ludlow mandatory?
Nothing for Ludlow specifically. They made a recommendation that we expand the village area to allow more room for youth development in Ludlow. That was their Ludlow specific recommendation. And I think, as I said in this meeting and the last one, we're not required to do that. This is just our following of a recommendation. It sounds like It doesn't sound like, I have not heard any conversation today that sounds like you all would like to go back to the original map. So I think we're following that recommendation, but there's not been any, thou shalt, include X lot, in the village area. Yeah, we haven't gotten that kind of instruction.
Thanks.
So I just have a quick question for my education. Why are we excluding those parcels off of Godfrey there? In the green, or not the green, the blue.
Sorry, I don't.
Right there, yeah.
necessarily know where-
Right where your
Right
mouse
here?
is, yeah.
Because of their, partially because of their slope, partially because of their proximity to the village itself, and partially because of the lot size.
Isn't there protected water in there too?
Yeah, and that as well. You've got your aquifer area up here. So I think, like for instance, if you were going to try and develop, this parcel here where my cursor is, you would have to find a way to, basically to justify that being in the tier 1B area. It would say, hey, would you consider this to be in the village? And I mean village little v, not the legal village. But and I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to justify that this is contiguous to that village center based on the fact that there aren't any roads that'll go through. You've got the separation based off of the railroad track. It's just this designation is intended for things that are contiguous to the village. We're striking the definition of that fairly heavily right now, and so I think that's why we've excluded that there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good question though, because they're right there, right?
Well, I'm just thinking down the road, there's no current access from the right side of the village pink, but down the road, somebody could come up that road. And plus it's actually closer to the wastewater department than the other side of South Hill.
It's true, yeah. I think in the future, that's a hypothetical that could be entertained. I think something to keep in mind as well is the length of time we're looking at here. This is our first go at this, but if something needs to be changed, we can change it. And this plan is only going to last 10-ish years anyway, so we'll be back having this conversation in the long run eventually. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, do you have kind of what you need, Kellen?
I think so. It sounds like to me that the edit that we'd like to make is to include this area up here on the Birch Cedar Pine Hill area and call it a day. If you disagree, let me know right now. Because this is, I think, the last time we're going to be able to come back to you all in this meeting, or into this body and present this. So if you have last comments, now's just the time, but I think we've had a great conversation and I'm happy to take that into account and we'll get something workable for you all.
And does this go to the land use board and then get approved by select board level, or is kind of land use, that's the final step?
I need to go back and look at the actual wording of the resolution that the select board and trustees made for the tier 1B area back originally. Certainly, we're not going to not show this to the select board and the trustees. So that'll go to them as soon as I can.
There is a public hearing on July 27th. The next public hearing at Mark,
That's right.
by regional.
Yeah.
Oh, that has nothing to do with Ludlow?
Well, no, they'll talk about the Ludlow map at
Oh,
that
okay.
meeting, and people could come that wanted to comment.
That's right. That'll be open to the public. If folks have specific comments on the map, either for Ludlow or for other parts of the region, July 27th, public meeting.
We should put that on our calendar events.
Yeah, I went to the
For
first
people
one. There's a
might
whole
wanna
lot of
go.
people from Windsor there, mad about
Yeah.
the prison.
Callan, can you, just one question about a parcel here.
Sure.
Law Ridge Heights, if you you go to the South Hill section there, that we were just talking about, the top left corner, there's a little parcel in green there. That's right off the end of Law Ridge.
Hmm.
It's a little corner parcel right there, yep, the little green corner
Right
parcel.
here?
Yeah, that looks fairly flat to me, and I know it's got access, what is it called? It's Twine Hill. It's right off the Twine Hill there.
Right off the Twine Hill?
Yeah,
I think we could.
I mean, I think that parcel, would make sense to include because it's undeveloped and it's,
I'm not sure if it's that parcel, but I know there's a huge problem with no 50-foot right-of-ways in that area. Because people have tried to come before the DRB with development ideas for
Yeah.
that.
certainly more 2 lots from the 50 foot, I think, right?
Yeah, I'll pop that back in. Thanks for spotting that. That's good. That's a good spot.
I know the guy who owns it also, he owns the big house right next to it. He's kind of bought up a bunch of that land in there.
Didn't that guy die from COVID? And now his young wife has it.
He may have.
Yeah.
But the secret wife.
I
Yeah.
don't know about the secret wife. I know he died of COVID.
It's on television, you know?
That was a good catch there, Ed. I
Thanks,
like
Al.
that. All right, so we're good with that?
Okay.
Move on to zoning
Yeah,
updates.
Martha, you ready for us?
Ready,
Ready.
Thank you, Kellen.
to be able to share my screen. Let's see.
Man, this one's gonna take forever. Number 9.
Okay, so I was gonna go off of the loose ends document, the updated version. Starting with section 221 here on the screen. Did you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay. So, one comment I had was, this says that the application for zoning permit shall be submitted to the administrative officer. The application shall be accompanied by each of the following. And then it suffices for single-use dwellings. And I'm wondering if we should change that to either just eliminate that or change that to for permitted uses, because I'm thinking you probably want all this stuff for, not just for houses, but for other uses as well.
Yeah.
Is,
Yep.
I think that's great.
yeah, okay. So I will change that,
So that,
and then,
you'd be changing line 1 on the next one, because it says all the items listed above for single unit dwellings.
That's what she was talking about, isn't it?
all the items listed above for permitted uses.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, yep. And then for number 3, you can't actually, you're not legally allowed to require the wastewater permit. You have basically 2 options. You can either not allow construction to begin until there's a wastewater permit in place, or you can set up a 2-step process where they submit their application for a wastewater permit, and then they get approved conditionally based on that application being submitted. And then once they actually receive the application, then they get a final permit.
Aaron, any thoughts on that?
We have an opportunity for more review on this.
Can anybody tell me what she just said?
Can't hear you there, Aaron.
Oh, you can't,
There you go.
how about now? My at-home setup is a little.
It's better, just speak loudly.
Okay. I mean, the subsection 2, establish an application process for zoning or subdivision permit, where we condition certificate of occupancy pending, the issuance of a wastewater permit. There's just a lot of, like a domino effect to this, so.
What was the first option?
I'm sorry.
You say that they're not allowed to start construction.
Could have it, so you gotta.
I can show you some language that they use in West Windsor, and they use very similar language in Reading, if you would like.
I think that
Yeah,
makes
I
the
mean,
most
I would-
sense.
Yeah, I would like to see what other towns are doing for this one.
Let me jump over.
But if you keep it simple, you need the permit before you begin.
I mean, that would make the most sense, yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Let's see, can I share it? Can you see my screen right now where it
No.
says
Yeah,
section 3.16, water supply and wastewater disposal?
No,
What is that?
Oh, no. Okay. Let me do a cut and paste, see if I can do it that way.
who's our tech person? Do you know? Somebody know?
Oh, I don't know her name. She's been here before
What
now.
section?
Does Martha have permission to share her document? Yeah, thanks. What's your name? Hi, Gavin.
What section did she just refer to?
221.221 number 3.
221.
Let's see,
No,
right, share.
Just 221.
Yeah, we can see
And
that now.
see this section now, oh,
Yep, we can see it. Sorry.
okay. So it said, I can read it also, it says, no building or structure intended for human occupancy shall be erected, altered, or converted from another use unless adequate water supply and wastewater disposal systems are provided in compliance with all applicable municipal and state regulations. For uses requiring approval under state on-site sewage disposal regulations, state wastewater system and potable water supply permit must be obtained by the applicant prior to the commencement of construction or any structures or the initiation of any use associated with the wastewater and water supply system.
Is that the West Windsor one?
That's the West Windsor one, yes. Reading's
Sounds
very
pretty thorough.
similar, if not identical. Basically, I mean, it would still rely on you, if someone actually did proceed to start construction without having this permit in place, you'd have to issue a notice of violation.
Aaron, does that cover your bases?
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I was just confused when Martha said that, we can't require it on our zoning permits because that's a requirement we have and it's a very important one, I feel like. So, I mean, if this verbiage is better statutorily, then that makes sense. It kind of says the same thing that we've been enforcing all along.
So I'm assuming that last sentence also dictates human occupancy, right? Initiation of any use associated?
So when you go to, I mean, certainly.
Yeah.
If you go to do your certificate of occupancy and they don't have this permit.
Yeah.
Then they've gone way beyond starting construction, so, yeah, then you would notify them. that
No more
they're
living in the
violation.
basement with the outhouse. That's what we did.
Richard?
Yeah, what about an outbuilding though? That's, like a garage or a shop separate. That, just because it says human occupancy, would that mean they'd have to have a wastewater permit if that's not their primary, if it's not gonna be used for?
So I would say if you said, hey, I have an outbuilding and I run a mechanic shop out of there, well, do you expect your mechanics to go to the bathroom? Different than, hey, I have a garage and I work on it and I go to the house when I go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's why I was just curious, because the way it's written, anything for human occupancy is.
Yeah, I would say,
It's all based on bedroom counts.
Okay, so if there's no bedrooms, then you don't.
but is human occupancy, is that, hey, I have an old barn and I'm gonna open up a, I don't know,
Maple syrup shop.
yeah, a restaurant, a store, something like that. It's not human occupancy, but I think if you were, it is designed for humans to inhabit that space more than a storage area or something.
But if the primary residence is gonna be where your restroom facilities are, that's the only reason I'm asking.
I guess, does it cover the commercial, the outside of a sleeping space?
Yeah, I mean, I would interpret occupancy broadly. You're gonna have people living there, working there, being there and needing to use restroom facilities.
Well, the only thing that I'm concerned is you're, asking for a permit for something that might not require it. And so the alternate would be to say human occupancy if other facilities are not, whether it's a single family residence or something like that. Because if you want to build a garage, you're not going to put a septic system in and a well for a garage, which is detached from the primary structure. That's only where I was going with that.
Right, no, I mean, unless you're gonna convert your garage for
Correct.
an accessory dwelling unit or something.
But again, because it says human occupancy, it seems like it's too far encompassing, is where I was going with it.
I guess you have to define human occupancy.
Yeah, we could do a definition of occupancy.
Right, okay.
But to answer the question, I think that update makes sense. It helps Erin with what she needs to get on that side, so.
Okay, so we'll add this and we'll define occupancy.
So moving on to 260.
And let me go to 260.1. So the other thing I wanted to comment on in that section before we move on is here in number 4, any other prerequisite approvals as required by these regulations and any other such information as may be necessary to determine. I just wanted to suggest changing this next little phrase to conformance with. Information necessary to determine conformance with these regulations. I'm not really sure what information you would need to provide for the enforcement of them.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Go for it.
Okay. Same down here, so 260.
Conditional uses. No, 0.1, application procedure. I don't see where that paragraph got added.
60.1.
I don't see any notes on it either.
Oh,
Oh, okay, it's on
Oh,
page
that bottom.
22.
22?
Yeah, top of
Oh.
22.
One. Right. Are you seeing where I've got for site plans involving access to a state highway?
Yeah,
We can't see your screen anymore.
Oh.
Would you share your screen? Yeah.
but you gotta get approval from the
Alright.
Agency of Transportation, that makes sense.
Now you can?
There
Yep.
we go.
Okay. I mean, this is basically just a statutory requirement, so I thought it would be helpful to include it.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Do you wanna look at the district dimensional standards now? That's kind of probably a very, very involved discussion. We could jump and do the others first. and come
Yeah,
back
let's
to
bang
that.
the other stuff out.
So 520.3?
20.3.
Section 5.
Page,
Sorry.
55.
55. Oh, I just know some reasons.
That's, that print's terrible. Need a magnifying glass.
Like a loose ends.
520.3 is, I just have trouble with this one. I have a hard time really understanding what it's used for. I don't know, maybe Aaron, if you could weigh in.
Yeah, so for this one, typically I tell people they can have a primary dwelling unit, an accessory dwelling unit, and then an accessory structure, which is a shed. A lot of people, it's Vermont, they have a lot of, working land. I would say a lot of people would like to see more than one shed on their property. But I'm open to what you guys think.
I think this would allow more than one shed. It says a residential building, an accessory dwelling, and its accessory structures, and it's plural.
Yeah.
I guess I was wondering a little bit about, what about some of the districts allow other things? This just has an exception in the next sentence for RC1 and RC2. You know what, I'd like, okay, so take, like, if someone comes to you with a proposal for a development in the industrial district, they wanna put, a warehouse there. And this says you can only have one residential building, an accessory dwelling, or accessory structures, unless it's a planned unit development. Well, how does that apply, that, I guess, is my confusion.
Well, I would assume the title of it says dwellings on lots.
Right. So this only would apply to dwellings and not to,
Accessory?
other principal uses besides dwellings.
I'm not sure if you have the. I don't know if anyone has any historical context of when this came about, of what the intention of it was. Was it to prevent having 20 sheds? Or,
Yeah.
Maybe it would be helpful if I got together with Aaron and we talked about how this might apply and
Kick it down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yes.
And I like to have a reason, like why not have 20 sheds? Up on South Hill, maybe it makes sense. But downtown, I could see that being funky.
Well, I think your point is well taken. You have a 20-acre lot versus a half acre or quarter-acre lot. Yeah, on a quarter-acre lot, one shed could be appropriate. On a 20-acre lot, you might have a farm or something else, and multiple sheds would be appropriate for that.
Yeah.
So it basically belongs with the zoning district
And the lot size.
in the lot. Well, that's in there too.
Yeah, I'm okay with you chatting with Aaron about this, Martha, and coming back to us.
That sounds good. Lots in 2 zoning districts. I proposed some
Favorite.
alternate language, and I don't know what your thoughts were on that.
26.
Yeah, we hashed this out a lot.
What I read from the minutes was that you wanted to, for Helen, to put together a map that you can go through and look at each lot.
Yeah. Well, I think that's down the road. I mean, I guess we'd like to
That's a long.
We'd like to
process.
redraw zoning areas so we're not bisecting lots. But we wanted something to kind of protect us in the meantime, in something that made sense.
I like what we got here.
Which one?
Well, there's A and there's B, so it covers 2 different things.
Oh, B is on the other side.
Undeveloped.
Yeah, didn't you sort of say you liked that list?
Yeah.
Well, this is you just taking what we discussed and writing it down, right, Martha?
Originally, I think you had said, why don't you, whichever district most of the lot is in, why don't you go with that? And then I was looking at some of the other regulations for the towns in our area, and Chester's had, the determining factor was where is the primary structure. So I was talking about it with Aaron, and we decided to propose, if there's a structure on the lot, let that be the determining factor. And if it's an undeveloped lot, then let the, whichever
Majority.
district most of the lot is in be the determining factor.
That makes
So we're
sense.
proposing that.
Bingo.
So that makes sense for now, pending going through and actually going parcel by parcel and making those changes.
Yep.
Okay.
5/2016. Swimming pools.
So, swimming pools, we discussed this, we made some changes, and I just found something when I was rereading it that didn't make sense to me. So, swimming pools shall be installed and maintained in conformance with state health code and shall be surrounded by a barrier for in-ground pools, or a pool side for above-ground pools no less than 4 feet high. That seemed to say to me that you can't have an above-ground pool that's less than 4 feet high, which I don't think was the intention. So, some possible alternate language is, would be in-ground pools and above-ground pools with sides less than 48 inches shall be surrounded by a barrier to prevent uncontrolled access.
What if the pool is, no, do they make pools above 4 feet?
I don't know.
Is the 4 foot number coming from a safety point of view? Where, hey, anything below that is the risk of a kid falling in? Or is it,
Yeah,
and I guess I
Yeah.
question, how tall are these pools manufactured?
I think there's a variety of different heights, and
In depth.
so if one happened to be less than 4 feet high, then I don't know how you could apply this.
There is a industry standard that a lot of other states have adopted that just puts the onus on them because that way, and it's very similar to this, that it's 4 feet high, it goes through all the latches. And again, if you have a pool that's less than 4 feet high, like she pointed out, you then have to have a fence around it, even to the point the fence can't be something a kid can climb over, and it's all geared towards safety. So you're doing a double benefit that one, it's helping the homeowner from an insurance standpoint, but it's also protecting the town that now you're putting in place things that are restricted. I can see if I can find the name of that document.
Because I guess where I get is, hey, do most of these pools, they get sold at 3.5 feet tall, and basically we're saying, hey, no above ground pools because no one makes them at 4 feet? I don't know.
Well, they make it work from height issues pointed out. So, but again, if you have one that's less than 4 feet, the whole idea is that they don't want a kid falling in and drowning.
Because what I wonder is, I can't imagine people buy an above ground pool and think, oh, I need to go get a permit for this.
Yeah.
Do we run the risk of, hey, we enact this, we're not checking and holding people accountable, and we get ourselves in trouble?
Yeah, I don't think anyone would assume they have to do
What do you
that.
mean get ourselves in trouble?
Well, a kid drowns and says, hey, Ludlow had an ordinance.
Regulate it and don't have enforcement.
This is right in the village and no one enforced it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Ludlow Planning Office, you screwed up here.
Well, I think if you enact this, it's about public safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that should be enforced.
We currently don't have a swimming pool. We haven't been regulating, we don't have any language for swimming pools to date, right? This is
Right,
new.
we know, this is new.
So what do you do about all the ones that are out there right now? How do you know which one's been installed and which ones haven't been installed already? Or have, how long have they been there? Or whether are they new? How do you,
Is there a state
is
code?
there a
for pools?
grandfather?
There is a state health code.
This was Windsor's, right? West Windsor's, you said, Martha, before?
This was West Windsor's.
So being an accessory structure, this would apply to all setbacks and everything else, because I know there's a couple pools in town, well, actually on Andover, that were actually encroaching somebody else's property right now that I know of down there. They're either in the setback on one end and then encroaching the next guy's property,
Oh,
but
wow.
they never really knew the property lines and they just put it up. It's been there for years,
Above ground?
above ground. So, I mean, that would be, I don't know.
I got it for you. It's called the International
Who's
Swimming
enforcing it,
Pool
though?
and Spa Code, and it's part of the Uniform Construction Code. So that would be what you would reference to it. And it goes into detail of heights and even locks and everything else. So it might be simpler just to say, we're using that code, and then if it changes, then the town automatically has the changes incorporated into it. And you could add in a permit, zoning permit, or whatever is required to put a pool in, whether it's above ground or in ground.
What's the benefit of us regulating swimming pools right now, though? Has that been an
Public
issue
safety.
regularly?
Yeah, basically what this is saying is that there needs to be a fence around it. That's what it says, right? There needs to be a
This
fence
says
if it's an
Vermont.
in-ground pool, but if it's an above-ground pool that's 4 feet and above, the fence has to be at the border of the pool versus if it's an in-ground, it has to be away from the border.
Well, it's also gonna be applied to the accessory structure, so it'll have to apply with all setbacks
Yep.
and
This says that Vermont does not have a single comprehensive statewide swimming pool statute. Public and commercial pools are regulated by the Vermont Department of Health. The private residential pool rules, enclosures, and permits are set and enforced locally by individual municipalities. That's us.
That's what I'm saying, but the enforcement side is what I'm looking at right now. What about all these pools up there on every back road in every house that doesn't have a fence? Somebody gets in trouble there, are we now supposed to be regulating those pools that have been up for 5 years, 6 years, that we have no knowledge of? And then something happens, they can say, hey, town, they didn't pull a permit, why don't you go out and do something about it? Like, do we want that liability at this point?
Nope.
Is this do they need to get a permit, or is this just allowed and this is what we regulate?
That's a good
This
question.
is an accessory structure, so you do need a permit for an accessory structure. I mean,
I think you're gonna have a really hard time regulating something you can go buy for a few $100 at Walmart
Yeah,
and
that
pop
would
up
hurt
in half a
time.
day. And then it pops 2 weeks later and you call it good. The in-ground pool's different.
Permanent structure is different.
Also, just remember that all my permit fees are based on price per square foot, so, a swimming pool would be an interesting making these circumferences.
Is it- Is this swimming pool considered impermeable or permeable space? Are we getting,
We mean for flood control?
are we taking
Yeah.
developable lot sizes by putting above ground
Flood
pools?
zone.
Oh, God. No pools, that's it. You can't have a pool anymore.
I would think I would just limit that to in-ground swimming pools and having a fence around them or requiring the height. I don't know if I would get into $300 above ground
Yeah.
swimming pools.
Insurance companies make people do that.
I was gonna say, insurance company takes over
Yeah,
pretty
Yeah.
much.
I think that the in-ground pool makes total sense. I think having something on paper for this safety, I mean, I think this stuff comes up because kids die. And now, hey, we want to regulate it. So I think there's merit in this idea. How do you regulate the above ground pools? And I honestly would say if it's an above ground, if you're going to put a deck around it, you need a permit for that. But if you're just throwing it up in your backyard, I kind of lean to not charging people to do that. That seems like a very easy, hey, it's a hot Saturday, we're picking it up, we're filling it at the house. Cool, we got our pool. Requiring that person to wait till Monday, go get a permit, site review or whatever.
Mhm.
Seems like a lot.
so you want to change this so that it only applies to in-ground pools,
Yeah.
is what I'm hearing, I think.
And I'd love to hear I guess, what's the thinking? Because I'm sure West Windsor thought about it, and what is the thinking on the above ground pools?
She said there was a doctor that decided on it, on the planning
Yeah.
commission.
Well, West Windsor did have a pediatrician on their planning commission at the time, who, of course, was very concerned about child safety, having treated kids who died in drowning incidents.
I'm curious what Rutland has.
The only other thing is you have an above ground pool that you can buy and throw up. I don't know all of them, but maybe there's a short staircase that a child can crawl up.
Yeah, they come with little
Fall in.
staircases.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I would say about this, it's not defining, and maybe it's just me, but it's not defining the type of barrier. What is a barrier? What if it's an orange construction fence? I mean, I
Well, it's
don't like.
defining the type of latches on it, the gates and everything.
So I think, sort of for some more background, West Windsor originally said fence, and the fence, well, it still says any gates have to be self-closing and self-latching. They had an application come in where the people wanted to put one of those covers over it that would automatically close when it wasn't being used. As an alternative to having a fence, and so I think that's why they why they changed the language.
Rutland requires it for above ground pools. Flexible sided pools must have a fence around them.
Yeah, it's much more congested there too, and lots more possibilities of
Yeah.
kids climbing in them.
Well, and they must have a lot more. That was my kind of thought. Where
Yeah, a lot more.
I guess my only question is, hey, where's our burden going out and checking and ensuring this stuff happens? Yeah, I mean, they require a permit, so.
As an analogy, and I don't know if it's a perfect analogy, but you know, if someone speeds through your village and hurts somebody or kills somebody, they broke the law.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether you had a police officer right there to pull them over or not.
Eric?
So, just to expand on Martha's point, you can insert anything into this blank, right? Someone adds a bedroom in their house with no windows. There's no way you're gonna know that. Someone puts a pool in, there's no way you're gonna know that. You know, they're not, the onus is on them. Yes, the town requires a permit, sure. Does everyone get a permit? Just because they didn't get a permit, that doesn't mean that the town is suddenly liable for not going and checking everybody's bedroom to make sure they have a smoke detector. You know, you're always gonna run into situations, you know, to Ed's point, are we gonna go check every single pool? You know, when you change zoning, it's not realistic. You're not gonna be able to do that. And by making these regulations, you're putting it on the owners. It's their responsibility. Oh, you put this pool up, you can get a permit? I mean, you can insert anything in.
Or you didn't watch your 2-year-old and they
We're talking about
watered the
pools.
next
Yeah.
door.
You really can insert anything into that blank.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's been, you did some homework on it, Martha. I think it makes sense.
Which makes sense.
What we have
Moving
here.
forward with what's as it's
here.
written. But I guess we never got to the whole point of it. What about the 3 foot, the 3 foot tall?
So
And then
basically what it's saying in my perception is a barrier for in-ground pools or pool side for above ground pools for no less than 4 feet. So if it's 3.5 feet, it doesn't really say where it needs to be.
Shall be surrounded by a barrier
I
of 4 feet tall.
I mean, I don't know anything about pool safety and the distances of barriers, but I think if this is gonna go in, it should be accommodated with somebody who has written it before, who has more knowledge of safety.
Well, that's why I'm recommending this
Yeah.
code, because it goes into very specific things, even electrical, which is something that you have to worry about. Or whether it's above ground or in ground, has to have certain grounding requirements, GFI receptacles, et cetera. So again, if you reference this code, it gets you off the hook, and basically it says anything that's capable of holding water that's 24 inches or more requires a barrier. And even though the latch has to be 54 inches high, because they don't want a 3-year-old, or a 4-year-old to reach it.
Yes.
It's gotta be higher. So they actually make a latch, which is on a stanchion to get to them.
So what is that code?
The International Swimming Pool and Spa Code, which is part of the Uniform Construction Code. And that's generally by the bodies. And I think Vermont's starting to adopt, are they not, the International and Residential Building Codes? I heard when I was talking to the Valleys a couple of weeks ago.
I haven't heard of it.
Let's add what he said, the international code, instead of the 4 foot thing.
Yeah, because that will cover you, and if they ever change the code, then it automatically rolls over.
What do you think? Should we just go with the national code?
I think it should be in there though. I guess
Yeah. We gotta insert it.
at least whatever that, happens to be.
So
At the
what should
time.
be in there, no?
The actual wording
That he just came
Of
up with
what
from the
it is.
National Builders
of
Code.
that 4 foot, you know, in accordance with that code or something like that.
Martha, do you understand, do you hear what we're saying over here?
Yeah, I will look at the code and
Get back to us?
draft something for you.
Thanks.
Okay. Performance standards, liability. I run by something right there. No, we talked about that already.
Oh, noise.
Page 63.
Okay, so my main question, and the first part is just clarifying. Minor clarifications. And then under the land use category section, where you were talking about spaces that require serenity, as part of the feature, and then if that is disturbed, that would be disturbing the whole purpose of the lot. So I just was rewording that to try and clarify it. And hopefully you had a chance to read it, and if you have any questions or comments.
Goodness.
I mean, my first question was whether you want to is this just going to be outdoor spaces, or were you thinking indoor spaces as well? It seemed based on the description that it was meant to apply to outdoor spaces, so.
Well, I read it as indoor or outdoor because it says decibel levels found at the property line.
But that's all crossed out, isn't it?
No,
Matt?
not at the top.
So
Are you
the
looking at page
DRB,
64?
It starts on 63, tracts of
Okay.
land,
Okay, right.
and then it gets, some of it's crossed out on
But
64.
anything with decibels is crossed out.
But right at
Oh,
the
down
top,
at the bottom, there's new language. Okay, I see it.
I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to decibels. I don't even know what.
whether the noise is coming from inside the house or outside the house, at the property line, it can't exceed X.
You can buy something on Amazon that measures the decibel level
Yeah.
for like $20.
Where did the decibel levels come from? Is that like standard health?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some standards to that.
Okay. Tracts of lands, parks, memorial gardens, meditation retreats, surrounding quiet, or defining features. That must be preserved for the area to continue to serve its intended purpose.
if someone wanted to put something really noisy next to a memorial garden, that's where something like this would come in, because quiet is the feature of, a memorial garden.
Yeah, it's just respectful.
Are cemeteries listed?
No, it's not.
Should it?
Well, it says similar spaces, so.
Yep.
You gotta let them shoot off the guns up there.
Right, I mean, that would be a good example, if someone wanted to put in a, shooting range next to a memorial garden or a meditation retreat.
Yeah, that
Then
makes
you
sense.
could, that's where this would come in.
Wait, the dead.
You asked what 60 decibels is. It's comparable to the volume of normal everyday conversation between two people sitting 3 feet apart, which would include things like a standard office with general background music, a home with quiet dishwasher, and speech with somebody talking. So it'd be about the level you have right in this room right now, would be 60 decibels. 70 would be a vacuum cleaner and traffic noise. 85 would be a food blender. Just to give you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, thank you.
You're welcome.
I like the description.
We all can relate to a blender.
Any thoughts, anybody? You good?
I like your corrections.
What do you think about the 60 decibels for more than 8 hours? Or should it just be 60 decibels period, or for 1 hour, or?
Doesn't it say 65 decibels for more than 8 hours?
On the bottom.
No,
it's-
it
On the
says
very
60.
bottom.
Up above,
Or,
it says normally
Top of
acceptable
64.
does not exceed 65 for more than 8 hours in a 24-hour period.
Okay,
So this would be quieter than that, because would be for unusually quiet situations where you want to go quieter than 65.
where would you want to go quieter?
The library?
Just
Inside the library, but
Terry, where's the 60?
on the front. Under discretionary, normal, acceptable.
Oh,
because again, this is from the zoning perspective. So if I'm going to propose this use, we need to say, okay, this use is going to be less than this. The shooting range, obviously not, but any public space is going to be minimum 60. You're going to have cars coming. You're up to whatever, 65 or 70.
So maybe we should up it.
We've already got normally acceptable as 65. You had something in here about having a lower threshold for areas that are quieter than average.
Oh, okay, yeah, this is just those areas.
I'm suggesting some alternate language to clarify that section, but,
And it's living up to the DRB, so they would determine.
yes. So they would determine if the parcel adjacent to the proposed development serves an important public purpose and preserving the serenity and quiet of the adjacent parcel is necessary to maintain the existing use of the parcel. Then they may require, and it doesn't say shall, it says they may require that the decibel level of the property line shall not exceed 60. So it's giving them that option.
Yeah,
Yeah.
giving them some leeway
It's not a thing that they have to.
and paying attention to the use.
Correct. Yeah.
Did this come from an example somewhere, Martha?
This is just a rewriting of what you had. The crossed out stuff here.
I have a hard time coming up with anything that needs to be quieter than 60, but I think if we had it there, then I don't need to tweak it too much.
that's
Better language than what we had previously, so.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah. Moving on to campgrounds.
Sorry, did you say you're okay with the revised?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I also revised below that commercial lodging facilities such as motels and hotels, places of public assembly such as schools, churches, libraries, hospitals, etc., and active sports areas. The decibel level of the property line shall not exceed 70, so this is a little higher than what is normal per.
What was 70 again, as an example?
Traffic. 70 would be a vacuum cleaner or normal traffic noise.
Kids in a playground.
I think it's fine.
That's all good.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think it's fine.
Okay. I can share Readings with you separately, or we can look at, I incorporated
Oh yeah, Readings was so
Their
comprehensive.
into your language. How would you like to go about that? Just look at this here?
We're talking campgrounds?
No.
No, this is the rest of the performance standard section.
Oh, sorry.
Shoot.
The only, I don't even know if I should bring it up. I just think of the dust that comes out of the Magris line. Like, how does that affect them?
But that is the industrial zone there. So it's not uncharacteristic of that zone.
Can you hear those machines at your house?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can hear them at our house until the leaves get on the trees.
I don't have any problem with language.
I think everything seems fine.
Yeah, I think we need it.
Electromagnetic
So,
disturbances.
Okay with the smoke, dust, vibration. Let's go to glare.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward.
It's fine with me.
And then fire, explosive or safety hazard.
Yeah. No more tannerite.
Flammable liquids, someone pointed out that there's, follow a different code now. I looked that up and changed that.
For which one, Martha?
Storage of flammable
Under
liquids.
Flammable?
550.6, it used to talk about the BOCA regulations, but that's been replaced by the NFPA codes that are in the Vermont Fire and Building Safety Code. Is that okay, the flammable liquids?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then the electromagnetic disturbances.
SDC guys.
That's good too.
Okay. And then for 550.8, you've already got storage covered up there under flammable liquids. I don't know if you need or want to regulate the sales of liquid propane fuel separately from everything else?
Can you sell it without storing it?
I don't think so.
I think it's covered.
Yeah, it's fine.
So do you want to eliminate this section?
Yeah, if it's not necessary.
I'll just write it out. Okay, and was there any more discussion about nuisance complaints?
I want to leave it in there because we don't have an ordinance. That's all we got. And it was Chris Callahan's suggestion. He was adamant we put it into the village zoning. Our town lawyer.
Can it be in a note? Because that's kind of more what it is. I don't know if it deserves its own little number, but
It's just how you find it, though.
yeah.
That's what it's
The
for.
index.
It's for the index.
Yeah, you may want to look into encouraging the select board to adopt a nuisance ordinance.
I was just gonna say, because you can file a complaint, but there's nothing to enforce it.
Well, the police know about this because somebody just told me about this on Lake Rescue. Not Lake
It's pretty
Rescue.
vague, though.
Yeah, Lake Rescue. That the police came out and dealt with a nuisance complaint. I said, was that Plymouth? They're like, no, it was Ludlow.
Can I make a suggestion? Actually, for things like this, if you're referring to your zoning ordinances, which is basically what this is doing, it really should go to the zoning officer to check the complaint, and then it would be then filed, because that's what you're basing this on, is that, you can't have dust, you can't have vibration, so it would become down to the zoning officer that would then be responsible for that. So the complaint would go to them first, because they're in violation of your zoning ordinances.
Yeah, but our lawyer thought it should
Should go.
say
But
this.
I think it's
He wrote
also,
this exact wording.
I think we should also go into the, your select board should create an ordinance to say this is what's gonna happen if you don't rectify it.
I think it's different than, if, hey, my neighbor's being really loud.
Right.
A one-time thing, I don't think they should be calling Aaron. But I think it's, I guess if all of a sudden I'm a restaurant and I become a nightclub and it's really loud all of a sudden, maybe.
Clarify what the nuisance is. If it's violating any of the items above, then it goes to the zoning officer.
Yeah.
Then the
If somebody's
select
burning
board
tires
creates
in their
one.
backyard.
Yeah.
But even if you
But I still don't think that it's not a zoning thing.
It's,
They were never permitted to burn tires.
Yeah.
That's a
Public
different
health.
piece.
Well, then you could leave that language in there and then just add something in, zoning to be notified and documented or something, so it goes in their file, right? Something like
But
that.
only if it's like a violation of their permit, because if you were gonna turn your breakfast place into a nightclub, that would be a change of use. And
Yeah.
all that stuff would have been laid out.
Yeah.
On how noisy you can be and what hours you can be open and all that stuff.
Well, my suggestion is that if you have these things that says you can't do this, 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 and this, your zoning permit was based on that you're gonna conform to all these things. If you stop conforming to those things, then technically your zoning permit should then become.
Right, which is the
Right.
difference between a
Correct.
one-time noise and a
And that's where I
continual
was going
noise.
with that,
Yeah.
to say, these should go to the zoning officer. The other ones that you're talking about, then they go to the police department to investigate. Just clarify, because you want them to know that if they violate the rules in the zoning,
But isn't that understood?
no.
I think that is a point of, we don't have anything where, hey, your neighbor, didn't file a wastewater permit. Well, we don't have information guiding them to where to go for that. But this is the one area that is kind of that one-off, like, hey, my neighbor's being loud. Where's the rules there? And easily they could end up in this document and
Yeah,
want to know.
But do we want to put that on the zoning administrator?
I think certain things
And
are.
I think that's something
Glares, lights,
Erin should be
reflections
asked.
are, you know,
Yeah.
that's,
yeah, I just don't know if we need to state it. I think it's understood that, you know, you violate any of this stuff.
you know.
I think if you went with a,
Or safety hazard.
hey, my neighbor's window's coming into my window, I don't like it. I think if you called the cops, they'd say, go to zoning. You know, go to your town. That's not our issue. Once we get these,
Off the top of my, sorry.
once we get these ordinances done at the town level, village level, then we could definitely circle back to this and add something, I think.
Yeah, a lot of those ordinances are like 15 years old.
I don't recall what your enforcement section says, or even if you have an enforcement section.
We
If
don't.
if you don't have an enforcement section, it would make more sense to have that than to have a nuisance complaint, because you do want to know how you go about enforcing a violation of your zoning regulations.
I think we need both.
All right, let's head to campgrounds.
Literally?
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of this is just minor kind of clarifications. And then we got down to the section on campgrounds themselves. And there was an issue where there was,
The size of the trailer.
Yeah, 20-foot wide pad, but there was nothing about length, so I was trying to clarify that. And I also want to add this about campsites can be for tents, trailers, or both, because tents were kind of left out.
That sounds good. And I remember Ed was our expert on camp trailers. How wide they are, how long they are.
2,500 square feet seems like a lot.
That's for the whole campsite, not for the pad.
Oh, campground? Campsite?
The individual campsite.
Because you could have pretty small tent sites
Yeah.
with a car and your tent.
Yeah, that does seem kind of high. I mean, you do need that for some giant trailer, but
3.
You can suggest alternatives, or you can have one size for tent sites and a different size for trailer sites.
yeah, I think that's a good idea. Because, you know, a tent and a Volkswagen aren't going to need that one much.
I'd love to see some, like, are there standards somewhere that do, I don't think we're the experts on what an adequate tent or trailer size would be.
You didn't study that in college?
Not well. But I would have. That would have been in my purview.
I can try and find some for you.
That sounds good.
Or do we need it? Is there a way that we can say it needs to be adequate?
Well, is there wording? Yeah, I mean, maybe you could word it in a way where it says vehicle and camp spot needs to
Because, I mean, we're not on the long trail, but
coincide with the size.
there's a trail, hey, it's just walking. And they just set up their tents and, hey, you could have a 10 square foot sites and you have a communal fire pit.
And it's still a campground.
And it's still a campground. I think there's a lot of campgrounds are
Maybe we just take
can
that
be
out.
unique.
Maybe just take out that square footage.
Yeah, that's huge.
Because I know campgrounds, don't they have places for people with just tents that are smaller and
Yeah.
then places for people with huge things?
I'm not familiar with zoning enough, but is saying each campsite should be adequate for the desired use. Does that give too much or too little power in our DRB or ZA?
I think it might be good because we spell it out, how much the pad has to be later on.
I think it's hard to be too vague, because how do you apply that? I mean, what's reasonable to one person might not be reasonable to someone else. So it's just easier for DRBs to apply more specific minimum. So,
I mean, you figure that's 25 feet by 100 feet.
About 40 by
But I can look around and-
100. That gives you room. for-
I've definitely
Maybe would you just,
camped in tent spots that are
Yeah,
tiny.
maybe just change the language from each campsite to just each trailer campsite. It's meant for a trailer to be that size, and
That's a good idea.
then just not regulate the size of the tented areas. For tents.
I think that's a great idea.
each trailer site shall be 2,500 square feet.
Access drive and a parking space, that makes more sense for a trailer than it does for,
A tent.
and shall include the pad. Well, actually, yeah,
We talked a lot about the pad. We got it.
Suppose
Yeah,
you go
it's-
down to 3
it's
with
actually a
4,
combination of three and crossed out 3.
I think you could do 1,500 minimum for even the trailers. You could have small trailers.
Sounds like we have another camp expert here. 1,500?
Yeah, because that's what that gives you. 20 by
20 by 75, right?
still big.
Or 100 by,
You need anything else from us on this, Martha?
yeah, deciding what you want.
Are you saying you want to reduce the trailer size sites to
Yeah.
2,500? I mean, 1,500, I'm sorry.
Do we agree?
What do other towns
no
do?
problem.
I mean, you're already saying there has to be 100 feet between each campsite, whether it's a trailer or a tent, right?
That's crazy.
That seems like way too much
That's
too.
way too much.
It's weird.
That's not highlighted
Not less than 100 feet in depth between all camping, trailer, and tent sites,
in depth.
In the traveled portion of any adjacent.
and the travel portion of the adjacent highway. So basically saying you gotta be 100 feet off a highway, road, or whatever.
No less than 100 feet in depth between all camping trailer tent sites.
So,
No, I think that's in the traveled portion of the highway. And any boundary.
Plus later on it says the DRB may reduce or waive the requirement.
between the trailer tent sites and the travel.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Not each other.
That's weird.
Oh, why don't we just put that in there? The DRB may waive any size requirements if, well, I guess it lists out the reasons, but
Yeah,
let's get a campsite proposed first. A campground.
yeah, we don't have one. But we have trailer parks, but they aren't campgrounds.
Right.
Well, it says you can only waive the requirements if it will make it possible to preserve an attractive view,
Jeez.
or if doing that is in the public interest.
Yep.
And I was suggesting that you change that to if granting the waiver will not have an adverse impact on the public.
Yep.
I don't know how you would argue that it would be in the public interest to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's more clear.
yeah, that's good.
So that comment's good there.
Okay. Do you want me to
And is that
go
only-
for other campsite sizes, or do you wanna just reduce it to 1,500, or?
What does West Windsor do?
No, let's do 1,500.
What,
Still
West
good.
Windsor, I don't think regulates campgrounds.
In my- if West Windsor.
I'd love to see a number, because I could even see it being like 200 square feet is adequate. I don't know. I've been on some small campsites before. And again, if someone proposed it and like, hey, it's 10 square feet and it works really well and it's thoughtfully designed, let's not limit that,
Square
but.
feet would be 5 feet by 2 feet.
Tractor trailers, let's just say the longest ones they make are 53 feet long, not including the cab.
Mm-hmm.
They're only 8 or 9 feet wide. Right?
Yep.
So that's,
When you stick all the things out though, don't they get a lot
400
bigger?
yeah, you square that, but it's, you know, even if you compact it.
Just a quick search says, typical is 20 by 30 featuring a designated level area, 10 by 10 to 15 by 15. Can handle 1 or 2 tents, a picnic table, fire ring, and 1 parked vehicle. So that
That's what I was
would
looking
be
up to.
600 square feet.
But that doesn't include your campers.
No, that's just, that'd be your minimum size, would be, 600 square feet.
But they're also saying you need a driveway and a parking space.
Yeah, and that would give you that based on this. 1 parked vehicle.
So we're reducing it to 1,000 or 600?
It's not like we get a ton of campground permits.
Yeah.
I feel like 600 would be fine, 800 would be fine,
Make it an even.
and yeah,
So do you want 600 or 800?
800.
We're reducing it to 800, Martha.
Is that for tents or for everything?
For trailer,
Site,
each
a minimum
trailer
of 800 square feet.
adds additional word trailer.
I just want to say too, if somebody's coming in and proposing a campground standards, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna know what they're doing. Probably have a pre-developed standard, so.
Good to know.
So 800 square feet regardless of whether it's for a tent or a trailer.
Yes.
No, we put the word trailer in there.
Well, right, but for tents it would be smaller.
Right, so we don't have a regulation for tents.
I thought that was gonna be a minimum 800 for everything.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Each campsite shall be at least 800 square feet in area and include access, driveway, and park.
Okay, so we're not putting trailer.
Access driveway? I'm not sure exactly what that.
Well, if
Most
you're gonna-
time-
If you're gonna pull over a car and pitch a tent, they want you to have access to it.
And
Is that different
yeah.
than your parking space? Or it is the parking
I think
space?
it is the parking
Yeah.
space.
Okay. Campsite designed for trailers shall, pad shall be at least 20 feet in width, long enough to accommodate the maximum trailer. So that's where I think you get the,
Yeah.
hey, that's gonna be 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, they can make it bigger, they just can't make it smaller
Yep.
than the 800.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Mobile home parks. Consider East Montpelier's language. Oh my God, that was so thorough. I read that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's a pond.
Oops. Yeah, so this, I just wanted your reaction. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you like or not like? So I can draft something for you.
It was very comprehensive. I'll say that for it. A lot more detailed than ours.
Yeah, the only thing I had a comment about was the 10,000 square feet for each lot. It's possible that, I mean, yours, I think says 8,000, I think that's better based on the Act 181 changes, so. Did we go through them one by one, or?
The Montpelier one and this one, you mean?
I just wanted to know your thoughts on mainly on the Montpelier one.
Is it in the packet?
I believe so.
I believe we didn't include the East Montpelier one in this packet, it was in last month's packet.
Yeah, I read it. It was pages
Is this the
long.
only, section 4.12, or is there additional sections from Montpelier that you wanted to use?
It goes down. It's about a page and a half altogether.
I think it definitely was more encompassing than what we had. A little restrictive in some areas, like you mentioned with the 10,000 square foot versus 8,000. I think it's something that there wasn't anything glaring that jumped out, that I think we could use that as a model to plug into our stuff and then take a look at it next time.
Yeah, just change the 10,000 to 8,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more comprehensive.
There's various comments in the definition section. It is getting late. I don't know if you wanted to jump to the hotels or the data centers or continue looking at the definition.
Yeah, I think we can get sucked down that rabbit hole, but we made some good work on our loose ends here.
Yeah, we got a lot
So
less.
unless anyone has any objections, jump into hotel use.
I'm gonna have to
7B.
call my kids, so I'm gonna leave a little early, guys.
Where's,
7B on the agenda.
oh,
It's fair. Yeah.
Was this something on your end, Martha?
What?
The hotel use?
It was something that we discussed probably 6 months ago. You have a definition for a hotel, and I think it's not actually a listed conditional use for any of the districts. So there was discussion about whether or not you wanted to list it as a conditional use in any of the districts. And that discussion just kept getting kicked down the road, so.
Okay, so that's something we'd probably want to look at our zoning map for. Yeah. So we could, it is getting a little late, but I'd love to touch on the data center stuff, even if we don't take much action. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Martha. I'm not sure if other folks have this. I imagine it's something that's starting to get discussed. Judy Pullinan brought it to, sent it to Jason, who forwarded on a lot of potential impact generally with data centers and that kind of development. And I think it's something we want to think about and probably be pretty restrictive on. Judy sent a bunch of really interesting findings there. The one thing that I question, and I think with just development in general, is like, what does a good model look like? And is there a small scale data center that could be a benefit for the town? The answer could 100% be no. I don't think it's worth risking that big development for the potential of having something that worked and was really cool. But I think it's something, as we go through these zoning updates, we really should have something firm in there of how we want to.
We have nothing so far.
Yeah, we have amazing power coming from Canada down to Massachusetts, right by the talc mine. We have excess water. We got flood control dams with a bunch of water. We have fairly rural area where there is land available, and we have great internet. So I think if we're not on someone's radar yet, we probably will be. So having something that we want to kind of take a stand on how we want to have this
We want to protect our water.
in our plan. I think any project would kick into Act 250. But with that, they're going to look at our town plan. They're going to look at our stuff. Water resources, they could use up to 5 million gallons a day. Our excess of 500,000 gallons seems like a lot. We use 250 maximum. So it's using an insane amount of water, much more than we ever have, and an insane amount of power. And that's already something that
And they contaminate water too.
Usually your zoning regulations are based on your town plan, so definitely put something in your town plan. And perhaps you could put something in the zoning. I'd have to look at your town plan and see if there's anything in there that would enable it or kind of speak to it in any way.
Yeah, there's a whole section on protecting water in the town plan.
Okay, so you could talk about water intensive uses, energy intensive uses. You could potentially say that energy intensive industries have to be located in the industrial district. That would be one way to limit them. Definitely a conditional use. I think, the state just had two potential new pieces of legislation, and one of them never went anywhere, and the other one was vetoed. So, and then the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is also looking very carefully at this, and they may come out with things that would override what you have, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be prepared and have something in there. So.
Have you seen any examples of what that looks like yet?
Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
No.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any town examples that are specifically focused on data processing centers or anything like that.
I could try to dig some stuff up, see what I can find.
Any opposition to limiting data center development? Eric?
I think you should address it, but like a lot, Matt, I think Matt just said it, data centers require an incredible amount of energy, which Ludlow can't provide. Even in the future, I don't see how that would happen. So if they look at this, the only data centers that are in Vermont, I think, are in Burlington, which makes sense. As we know now, you know, when someone flips on the light in the bathroom with a mine, the lights dim and they'll chemo. So, you know, those two are fighting for the power that's on the grid right now. So, a data center developer, you know, would look at this area and it would seem logically that they would rule it out based on not having enough, you know, just on the power grid itself. I think the risk is probably low. You should address it, but I don't know that it's a high risk of you know, one of these operations coming into a town like this.
Thank you.
Richard?
I think it's always great to put something in your zoning so you have it, so somebody doesn't challenge it, but you scale it to what you want it to be. And of course, water requirements and power requirements would be a dictating factor because nobody's gonna come here if they can't get two things that they really need. But yeah, an industrial zone would be most appropriate, not somebody's residential neighborhood. But typically also, though they have come up with some modular designs, most of them want big flat pieces of land so they can make the mega warehouse type situation to put the data center on it. I don't know too much that that's around in the Ludlow area, but certainly in the industrial zone would be the most appropriate place to put it.
Okay. Couple more things. Discussion on housing committee. We've had a lot of people talk about housing over the past couple of years. We've had the lease to locals folks come in. We've had a lot of different ideas, the, you know, back 40, things like that. We've had the folks from West Windsor come in and their housing commission kind of present to us and where they're going. It's something that I've thought a lot about. It seems to, it naturally comes into planning commission. But we have a lot of work on our plates. And it's something that I feel like, you know, we have some time and cool, we devote it there. And I'm just wondering, you know, kind of after our conversation at the joint meeting the other day, do we think it's time to recommend to the select board to form a housing committee, kind of off of the planning commission, to have folks really dive into what our real options are. You know, we've talked about, you know, these different options. The back 40 idea, you know, that is to me the, hey, we wanna look for potential developers, and you know, we can, you know, be partners in that. Part of that is, you know, and I don't think it's just that site, but hey, identify where are these sites, and that just takes time. And you know, it's putting projects together in pieces like that. But looking for some thoughts from you guys here of if that's a valid topic to take up, if we think we're ready for that, if we think it's needed.
It's definitely needed.
I mean, I think it's something that definitely needs to be addressed. You know, as Jason said in the meeting, I mean, I don't think we're gonna hit our goals as they're aligned for anyway, but, right? So there's definitely something out there. I think the most important thing to part of the housing and what we're doing here is finding those spots. And I see nothing wrong with putting people together and figuring that out. I mean, that's really what the goal is, right? Is trying to
Start with that.
make it happen. I mean, it's a great way to do it. My thing is, like, when we had that general board meeting, I thought it was fantastic. And because some of those boards can be a part of the other things too, right? I mean, power and water are number one in my mind. It's like, we do this, we do this, we do this. And, you know, not only identifying housing, which is really important, but I was also trying to think, we talk about power as identifying areas for power for Ludlow Electric, you know, which is be part of growth and defining that as well, trying to set it out. I mean, it's not that easy. at all, but so I'm all for it.
And I think with it, we need a clear, I think there's been committees formed but no clear goal of like, hey, look into housing. And that can be 20 different things to 20 different people. I think step one is like, what are the options? And, there's, a tax subsidy, a deed buyback program. There's actually subsidizing the housing itself with the lease to locals and kind of going forward with like, hey, here are these options. Here's the level of support. Does it make sense for Ludlow to spend $1 million and get, maybe 50 people living in town? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe that $1 million is better suited to help develop something else. So I think that's one piece of it is I'd like us to kind of be a part of that. What is that goal? Eric?
So housing is my passion, as you know. A couple of things that I'm gonna state are obvious. Your town plan, the number one thing is always housing, And as I said at the meeting, you set this goal every single year for 25 years, but no one has ever worked towards, attacking that goal or completing that goal. Towns that have a housing commission build housing. Towns that don't build housing. So if you don't have a committee of folks that are working on this, it will not get done. And to your other point, coincidentally today, I spent all day at this development seminar down in Brattleboro, put on by a lot of these groups that you mentioned that come in. West Windsor Housing was there. There was a lot of folks down there. It was put on by IncDev, Incremental Development, if you know that group. And, the things we discussed today were these commissions and how to get these projects going and the funding that's available and the financing for it. A lot of it's complicated, but you need to have a start. You need to have folks on those boards that understand these processes, understand financing, infrastructure, cap rate, the whole thing. Without that, you won't have any housing. And the other win for it, as you just used the $1 million example, is what I said earlier. When you take these parcels and develop them, they go from a $50,000 value to, a $5 million value. So the town is getting paid back that $1 million investment, every year in perpetuity. And you're, do you want to create housing or you don't? If you're serious about it, then you have to work towards it. It can't just be every year, we really got to do something, You start today and you'll have something done in 5 years. Without a commission or without a group, you'll have nothing done.
And it seems like every housing committee that I've heard about at regionals had a lot of them. All they do is collect data and say we need housing, but they don't actually create housing or find a way to actually create it. So I'm
And
all
I
for
think
it.
it's the small, Eric talked about it, 802 Homes, they came, the commissioner of community and housing, he came and presented on the CHIPS Act and some of that, but the 802 Homes, that could be a great, like, hey, this is an easy win for us of, hey, we're gonna approve this, any house in Ludlow, you wanna come do one of these, boom, free permit, there you go.
Let's put them on our 10 acres.
And that is, from that level all the way to, hey, we're gonna go partner and develop this whole back 40. And so I think, yeah, we've talked about it a lot. I think there's a lot of people who are eager and knowledgeable to make it happen, and would much rather do that than, come to these meetings and on and off and stuff like that. So, okay.
Okay, everyone?
Yeah.
So it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's complex, it's complicated, it's an emotional topic for folks, but you have to be educated on the process, be educated on the funds that are working, the stack financing, local contractors. It's difficult, but it can be done, if someone is working towards getting it done. There is examples of it being done. And again, I'm gonna keep pushing that. That pushes up your grand list, which in turn lowers, everyone's burden by also creating housing. I mean, what create housing, lower your taxes? It sounds silly, but that could actually be part of the formula.
Okay.
So where do you wanna go with that?
So I think it has to come from the select board to say, hey, we wanna establish this.
Okay.
And I think we, like you mentioned, having some representatives from different boards, having members of the public, someone like Ted who, knows the development side, yourself on the real estate side, the funding piece, the permitting piece, all of these kind of things are important there. And
I
see
agree
what
with
options
that.
we have.
The makeup for the education, knowing whether it's lender involved, contractors, things like that, it should be, because I think with that case and people being motivated, it will get done. And I still go back to what Ted said at the all board meeting, we gotta do things that nobody's done before,
Yeah.
and it's got.
And he offered to do some
Yeah.
site prep and stuff, right? No, he did. I'm not kidding.
So I think we're all for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron, all boards recap?
Yeah, no, I just kind of wanted to get everybody's feedback on it. I know it's getting late. I'm more than happy to discuss this at the next planning commission meeting as well, because a lot of it's going to tie into all of our town plan updates.
Yeah, I think I heard nothing but positive things. I think everyone was that attended was really excited to kind of be there with everyone else who's kind of in the same seat. So yeah, nice props to pushing that and making it happen. I think we're going to see more of that in the future.
The only thing I'd like to add to that, Aaron, is I think it's real important. I always say communication is the key to success, whether it's personal or in business. And when you get everybody together like that, it's very valuable. And I think it should continue, especially when you hear about, like the water department talking about possibly doing something with pipes or this or that. So the town knows, and then the town can make decisions as a whole. If somebody's digging in the ground, what else can we put there while we got it opened up? You know what I mean? So that, I just think it's crucial to keep that communication going.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was great. And, definitely for the annual, if not moving this to maybe like a biannual commitment from all the boards. So thank you for that.
Better Connection update?
Yep, so the SC group is wrapping up the online survey right now, and that should be to us within the next day or two. I will be issuing an updated flyer with that QR code for the online feedback as soon as I get it. And we will be at the farmer's market on Sunday between the hours of 11 to 1 in the park for gathering additional feedback. So, and this will be the first of many outreach opportunities that I saw. We do read the Facebook comments, so there will be more outreach.
Don't read the Okemo Locals one.
No comments on that.
Any other business from the board? Any other business?
Not at this time.
Any other business from the public?
Appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay, second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, everyone.